Hello and welcome. This is Goobobbity and welcome to the Diablo 3 Challenge Rift 6 tutorial and guide. This week we have the Witch Doctor, utilizing the full 6-piece set bonus for Helltooth Harness. Helltooth Harness buffs Wall of Death, making it so that after casting Wall of Death, we get a 1400% damage boost for 15 seconds to Plague of Toads, Wall of Death, Piranhas, Zombie Dogs, and Gargantuan. Enemies hit by these abilities are afflicted by Necrosis, a damage over time that lasts for 10 seconds, dealing 1500% weapon damage per second, and giving us a 20% damage buff against those enemies. And moving on to our non-set bonus items. Starting off, we have the Hellfire Amulet. This grants us a free passive, Zombie Handler. This passive gives us an extra dog and grants 20% extra life for our pets and player. And next we have Jeram's Bracers. This buffs Wall of Death with an 86% damage increase and makes it so that Wall of Death can be cast 3 times. Next we have Convention of Elements. This ring grants a 200% damage bonus for our focused element, cycling through all the elements. There are 7 elements in the cycle, and this build is currently utilizing 3: Poison, Cold, and Physical. Our offhand is Ucapian Serpent. This makes it so that 26% of our damage is redirected towards the dogs, and we have a bunch of dogs. Speaking of pets, we have the gloves, Tasker and Theo. These gloves grant an attack speed bonus of 44% for our pets. Our second ring is Short Man's Finger. This ring converts our Gargantuan into 3 small Gargantuans, each more powerful than the first. The main hand weapon is Renho Flare. This buffs Plague of Toads so that the toads seek out enemies and have the chance of exploding twice. Finally, we have our belt, String of Ears. This grants a melee damage reduction of 27%, which is good because this build promotes close to mid-range combat. Moving on to our legendary gems, we have 3 this time. We have the Enforcer, increasing pet damage quite a bit, reducing pet damage taken. And as you see, we got a whole lot of pets, 6 dogs and 3 Gargantuans. We have Bane of the Trapped. Trapped enemies take 25.5% damage. Now all of our gems here are level 35, that's why it's 25.5. And these enemies here are the ones that give us some crowd control. We have the toads, we have the rain, the frog land, we have the piranha face, we have the wall of freaking death, and we have soul harvest. All of those do some crowd control in some way and will give us a 25.5% damage increase against those enemies. Our third gem doesn't really matter because, there's no gold in the Challenge Rift, and this is the Boon of the Hoarder gem, so it doesn't really matter that it has a 77.5% chance of gold eruption because that's not going to happen. We're not going to see it. We're in a Challenge Rift. Now we have the passives. We have Pierce the Veil, increasing our damage while increasing our mana cost. But the thing is, we're not really spending that much mana because we have a bunch of pets. We have, the frogs, which is free, and then we have Soul Harvest. We have a bunch of stuff that doesn't really cost mana, you see. So it's a freebie damage increase of 20%. Fierce Loyalty gives us extra movement speed based upon having pets. Midnight Feast gives us extra pet damage. Spirit Vessel gives us a freebie death once every 60 seconds. You turn to a ghost instead. With Hellfire Amulet, we get the extra dog as well, so we get a lot of dogs. Moving to the powers, we have Soul Harvest being buffed by Sacred Harvester, allowing Soul Harvest to stack 10 times. We have Mask of Jeram, giving us extra pet damage by 100%. You see, we have the 6 dogs from the 3 passes, and we have that Gargantuan from that Short Man's Finger. Then we have Ring of Royal Grandeur, which gives us the full 6-piece activation. Now for our abilities, we have our primary attack is Plague of Toads with the Addling Toads rune. This makes it so that our attacks have a 15% chance of confusing the enemy, and a confuse is a trap, which gives us the 25.5% damage increase with the Bane of the Trapped legendary gem. This is poison damage, which will activate on occasion for Convention of Elements with that 200% damage bonus. And then we have Renho Flare, which makes it so that our toads seek out enemies and may explode twice. And of course, this applies Necrosis, that damage over time for 10 seconds, 1500% weapon damage, and plus 20% damage. So a lot of damage. If you just hit him with this, it escalates. And Soul Harvest acts as a buff and slow. This feeds on enemies within 18 yards, casting a slow by 80%. This triggers Bane of the Trapped, granting us a 25.5% damage increase. Every enemy affected by Soul Harvest grants us a 3% intelligence and 10% armor bonus. This stacks up to 10 times with Sacred Harvester. This attack is cold, giving us the potential for a 200% damage bonus whenever Convention of Elements rolls around. Next we have our pets. We have Gargantuan. We have Gargantuan with the Humungoid rune. With Shortman's Finger, it'll create 3 small Gargantuans that are more powerful than the original. Humungoid does a cleave attack, attacking multiple enemies in front, spreading necrosis, you see. Dealing cold damage with that Convention of Elements boost there. We have 6 total zombie dogs. With the Leeching Beasts rune, our dogs will heal the player for 100% of our life on hit. These dogs and the Gargantuan will spread necrosis with every attack. And for our big damage abilities, we have Wall of Death and Piranhas. For Wall of Death, we have the Communing with Spirits rune. This is cold damage. It will chill enemies for 60% and reduce their damage by 25%. This will trigger the Convention of Elements rune for cold damage, 200%, and the Bane of the Trapped for 25.5% extra damage. With Jeram's Bracers, you can cast Wall of Death 3 times, each with a 86% damage increase. With Helltooth Harness, casting Wall of Death gives the player a damage buff for 1400% for 15 seconds. Next we have Piranhas, with the Piranado rune. This is poison damage, triggering the Convention of Elements for poison damage, and will trigger Bane of the Trapped for the 25.5% damage increase, as the enemies are suspended in the air. This will gather enemies in one spot, dealing damage over time, and will grant a 15% damage buff against targets affected. Both of these abilities will apply necrosis to the target. And to break down the order of events, let's analyze this skill rotation. The first thing you want to do is summon your pets, Gargantuan and zombie dogs. Make sure that they're in front of you. If they fall behind you, recast your pets to summon them in front of you. Ensure that you have 10 stacks of Soul Harvest at all times. Attack with frogs and keep moving. Allow necrosis to damage over time. Cast those frogs from mid-range, allow them to spread. At large groups of enemies, cast Wall of Death 3 times. Overlap the middle will cause more damage. Like a Venn diagram, focus that overlap. Only attack enemies in the Wall of Death field for maximum damage. At elites and bosses, start off with 3 overlapping fields of Wall of Death. Follow up with the piranhas right smack dab in the middle, and then finish with frogs until dead. Make a small space between you and the enemy, but stand within the field. All attacks will afflict enemies with necrosis, with the exception of Soul Harvest. This will cause a severe damage over time and damage boost for all future attacks. And now on to the maps. Challenge Rift 6 will end on the 3rd floor. On floor 1, there is a power pylon and 1 elite. On floor 2, there are 4 elites and 1 defensive pylon. And on floor 3, there is a speed pylon and 3 elites, leading up to the main boss. And now for a demonstration of this Witch Doctor in action, here's a sample of one of my better runs on this challenge rift. So, hold on to your butts, and let's do this. Starting the 1st floor of the Greater Rift, we go up and to the left. It's a clearer route. Once you have the enemies gathered in a group, go ahead and use Wall of the Dead, followed with frogs to finish them off. You want to keep pushing forward through the enemies, attacking as you go with the occasional frogs to cast necrosis, and once you get to these stairs, push real fast up to the power pylon, and then finish off the elites. On the 2nd floor now, push your way down really fast to the 1st elite, around the 1st left corner, attack in a group with piranhas and Wall of the Dead. Gather your orbs and keep on moving. At every group you can go ahead and use Wall of Dead when necessary, along with frogs to kill your enemies really fast. When there's a lot of enemies and when you have the cooldown ready, you could throw in Piranha to group together enemies and add that additional damage bonus. We're pushing through, attacking groups of enemies as we go, leaving stragglers for the stragglers. Attacking large groups, piranha, wall of the dead, enemies die fast. Moving through, this is our second elite on the second floor. Keep on pushing through, straight all the way. This is kind of a maze, so just keep it straight after that second elite until the end of the hallway, then take a right. So we're pushing all the way down, and then we're taking a right. Kill these groups as we go. Kind of stuck here for a second. Pushing on. Frogs, wall of the dead, piranha equals death. We have our pets active the whole time, and we have our stacks of soul harvest active. In this room there's a pylon, so curve up over to the left. Attack this group and kill them as you go. Sometimes you get hung up right here. I got hung up right here. Get your shield pylon and then go ahead and kill the elite group. Pushing on down to this group right here, and then on and out. That was the third elite on the second floor, moving towards the fourth elite and then towards the exit. Pushing on through, ignore stragglers, ignore the stragglers, kill the big group. Here is our last elite, right here. Go ahead and take care of them, collect the orbs, and then push on out. On to the third floor. Here there is a speed pylon in this first room, so we want to go ahead and push towards that. Kill these enemies as we go with piranhas and wall of the dead. Get our speed pylon. The speed pylon will last all the way through to the boss. Kill the second elite group on the third floor here. They die pretty fast. Keep pushing through. Straight line to this other large room at the very end. There is an elite there. You want to try targeting the elite and then killing everything as you go. Waiting for that elite to pop. Well, thank you for watching. Again, I'll be doing this every week. Next week will be week 7. We have a Demon Hunter or Crusader. Exciting times. As you see here with this boss, go ahead and slap down those walls of the dead. Get that piranha in there and the boss is dead. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe the Gooboberty way. Look at that time. Man, 19th place in the planet. In the Americas. Bam. Subscribe. Tell your friends.